Hello and welcome to the class. Today we're going to lecture on editing photos in popular software. Shall we begin? So we're going to look at the Windows PC first. We are going to look at several examples of editing. The first one we will do is with a Windows system, and we'll see how easy it is, whichever system you decide to use. We have, as I said before, at some point, PaintShop Pro here. We're going to load it at the moment. We get some registry errors because it's a very, very old software, but it's also very, very convenient to use. So the first thing we are going to look at is rotating. That's one of the most important things you will probably need to do. Here we go. This provides a prime example of rotating and cropping to get a popular picture. Here we are going to invoke the rotate. We have up here image rotate, and we can rotate it to the right or the left. We just click OK. And we have it where we want it to be. Now, as you can see, we have this picture sandwiched between two people. And this comes about because the camera takes what it wants to take, particularly if it doesn't have a zoom or if we can't get exactly what we want. So very often the photo that we shoot will have in more than what we actually want the photo to be presented to the public. So if we want this guy, we have to take him out by cropping. So we draw a selection box around him. And we will have to take away that face, and then we are good to go. The fact that he's among people is not really going to cause a problem. So that would seem we might go up a little bit there to try and get it so that it's not too long and thin. That's the biggest problem when cropping like this. We want to make sure that we have a similar aspect ratio, which means height to width. We don't want it too long and thin. We want it to look natural, like it's the full frame. So if we take off on the left and right, we should probably take off some of the top and bottom as well to make it look great. And we could have given a little bit more to the left. We could do that by just clicking and ignoring and start again. Let's give him a little bit more to the left, like so. Right? And that about does it. So when we do that, we just go image, crop to selection, and at full size, doesn't look too bad. You can see how that compares with what I already have in the upload on Flickr. So we've just learned two important things: cropping and rotating. The other operation we really need to look at is being able to watermark our images somehow or the other. So in order to watermark, otherwise called markup our images with a text marker, we click on the text tool over here, which is indicated by the A. We place it where we might like to place a copyright image. And we bring up our text entry window. Now, right now, we have it set for 2011. We can set for whatever year we want. We can change the color if we want, or even the size. We definitely don't need it quite that big. We could probably reduce it to 36. And white would probably be an acceptable color at this point. And we just click OK. Now, as you can see, it's still way too large for the image. So what we might want to do is undo and reduce the size a little bit more. You'll see that it's a bit easier in the other system. Okay, that's still a little big. We could do it over again and just reduce it once. Most good graphic software has undo. So we just reduce the text size a little bit more. And we move this around till it changes to that there, and put it on the image. And we're pretty much done. Now, this is a fairly straightforward program. We can just save the file with a slightly different file name. We prefer to do this because otherwise it overwrites the image permanently marked, and you don't want that to happen. Now, most other software doesn't be as simple as this, but in this particular case, we're just going to change the name. This sunset, which is a very nice sunset, but it's way too dark. And we can go here on color, adjust brightness and contrast. But the only problem with this is that it's only a one adjustment. In the next program, and most professional editing programs, and in Lightroom and Adobe and all of those other programs, you don't simply get brightness and contrast, you get highlight, mid-tone, and shadow. So you can independently adjust the dark area and the light area. But in this one, we have to adjust all two. So as you can see, we've lightened it a little bit there, and it doesn't look too bad like this. Actually, I'm quite pleased with it, except that it's a bit washed out, if you want to call it that. But in any case, you can play with it and just get your percentage of contrast and brightness. See what it does. It reflects into the image. There you can see we've got something ridiculous. Right? That brings it back, and we can, that's not enough. That's not enough contrast, right? You add a little bit more. And get your brightness level. And we can go with that. And once again, we can either save it, but if I try to save it now, what will it say? Actually, it saved it there directly, overwriting the other image. So if you want to do that, this program is a dangerous program. It's interesting that it should save it like that. I have to go save as. If I'd gone save as, it would have then told me that that file existed already. So we don't like this program for that reason, even though it's simple to use, because now if I didn't have another copy of my original image, my goose is cooked. I've saved the file with the changes. And this doesn't happen in Adobe Lightroom and other professional software. It regulates it so that this cannot happen, that you will not overwrite your original file. Fortunately, this is just a copy of multiple copies of the same picture. So I can go back and originally get my original camera image and start all over again, making adjustments to it. But that's not possible on this particular one right now, because I just overwrote the same file name with the changes. Okay? But now we've learned that the other thing we might like to do is basically lighten or darken or selectively enhance various parts of our photo. Now, the last thing we're going to do here before we transition to the Macintosh is we're going to open one last file and show you how to do some correction. And here is again where you will see the big difference in the mechanism used for the correction. I said to you in a previous video that I wanted to take that bottle out of the rocks. It doesn't look very good there. So we would like to do this. We would like to move it. But here, what are we trying to do? We're trying to take that out. So we go to view and we zoom in maximally because we want to see what we're doing. So the first thing to do is to make this as big as possible so that we can operate cleverly on this bottle. So what we want to do is to select, see, this is our selection tool up here. So we take the selection tool and we select an area of rock, right? Then we go edit, copy, and paste. Now, when it tells us paste, do we wish to paste as a new image, a new layer, or a new selection, or even a transparent selection? Well, we select the new selection, and lo and behold, that gives us the little square that we just took a sample of, which we can move around and bring it down and make the top of our bottle go away. Now, we can continue to do this by pasting over and over, trying to put it where it doesn't as much interfere with the rest of the work. Like that would be another good spot to put it. And we can paste in another piece because the bottle, as I said, is rather large. Right here, so. Like that. And we're only left with a couple of little areas and our rock looks pretty okay. Now we're going to take another sample of rock from maybe, let's say here. This time it's a smaller sample. And that will allow us to tidy up. We're able to tidy up somewhat. Now that's assuming you want that big black mark. If you want that big black mark to disappear entirely, we can make these edges, we can work on these edges. But if you would like that black mark to disappear entirely, that might be easier to do than trying to fix it. So rather than fix the black mark, let's just make the black mark blend in with the rest of the rock. There you go. And now we have made the bottle completely disappear. Aren't you impressed? You should be. Okay, now notice there's a few other blemishes that we could correct in the meantime. Those blemishes are very, very easy to fix because they don't require all of that elaborate thing that we just did, because they're only just a few pixels, as you can see. So basically, to fix that one, which is only about 1 pixel, we just go to the dropper and sample the color there. Boom. We go to the brush. Make sure that the brush is, I don't see where the brush palette is. It must be behind this. There's the tool brush palette here. Yeah, it's set to 1 pixel. So we come over here now and we click on a couple. Well, actually, it's slightly more than 1 pixel. Okay, so that one's gone. And that one's gone. All right, so how does that look when we put it back to normal size? Pretty good. Pretty good indeed. our bottle has ceased to be part of our picture. So now we save, remembering to use the save as. Now, only if we use the save as will it warn about there being another file. See, Rugged Rock already exists. Do you want to replace it? So if you say no, you can save it as Rugged Rock B or A. Save. And it's done deal. Okay? So we have the original if we wanted to go back to it for any reason, and you can compare the original with the final version, but clearly we made a bottle which was fairly large in the image. Smaller object, the smaller the object is, the easier it is to correct. The larger the object is, the more you need to be clever in selecting surrounding areas and blending them, selecting surrounding areas and blending them with the current position. All right. Okay, so that constitutes our test there on 3 separate images. 3 separate images that we've looked at. And once again, observe how much we have learned in such a short time. Now, no matter what software you decide to end up with, you are going to have a number of tools, and the tools are all going to be the same to accomplish blending, copying, rotating, cropping. Those are all standard things that you do with photographs. Many of the systems have a one-touch command that you just click with a button and it gets rid of things like dust spots and stuff like that, dust removal, which is not really a big problem now, but used to be a big problem with film. So let us transition now to the Mac. And the reason why we're going to the Mac, now is because on the Mac, we have free professional software. You would have to spend quite a bit of money to get the equivalent of iPhoto and the power that iPhoto has on a Mac. So a lot of people say, oh, Macs are expensive, and now that's why we haven't got a Mac. Don't let the cost of scare you anymore. The Mac Mini is a way to get into Mac without buying a screen, keyboard, or anything else. The Mac Mini is just basically the PC, and you can hook your Mac Mini onto your regular screen like I have here and use a regular Windows keyboard and mouse with it. And it's very inexpensive. It's virtually as inexpensive. There's no more expense going into a Mac Mini than there is buying any other PC that you might want. So the idea that you have to pay more has become a thing of the past. But even if you did pay a few $100s more, you get so much free software that you don't have to buy, and quality free software, and it gives you a better workflow, as we shall see in a moment. File, import. And here we're going to go to our stick. And we, hopefully you're all seeing this. We're going to photos. Let's double click that. Here we go. Oh, here we are. We want to select. I don't know quite why it's taking so long though. All right, here we go. And we hold down Shift and select all of them. Import them. And there they are. All right, so now what we are going to do is we are going to, there he is, same picture we had before. So to turn him around now and crop is fairly simple. We have this little thing here. We can do that without even opening edit. Leave. Let's see if we can. There we go. Right. We've done that part of it there. That's just that little rotate thing there. Now we go on the edit and see where it says here crop. And we have this here to pull in. We don't want him quite so long and thin. So we raise that up a little bit. We might want to pull that out a little bit more like so. So he's not quite as, doesn't look quite as objectionable. Looks like it was a real photo that was actually taken. We can carry that up just a little pivy more. We just have to move it till we get it right. I don't know quite. Ah, there we go. Right, there we go. Up. And there. All right, so maybe you're happy with that. I don't know if you're happy with that, but that'll do for now. So we could say done. Now, what else do we wanted to do with this guy? Do we want to do anything else? If we don't want to do anything, we could lighten him up a little bit. Couldn't we do that too? So we click on edit, and here we have basically the potential to lighten the shadows or the highlights, or just to make a general improvement. Now that's a little bit brighter, isn't it? Right, we leave it there. And notice that with this one, I was going to show you on the other picture, we have options here that gives us a whole lot of different adjustments in the shadows and the highlights. This is a very professional panel, which you would not find in much free software. So we say done on that one, and we now would prefer now to do markup. So we come here to the 3 ellipses, and we say markup. And then we come over here to where it says A, which means there it is, text. We just click there, and we can quickly put in our copyright. And we can say space any year we want, but we obviously have to figure out what year it was. That's not the most significant thing that you need to do. And then you can come down under here and you can type in your web address. Now it's a bit big. So what you would do here is you would come up here and you'd click on the text, and you'd come and you'd make it smaller. You can make it any size you want it to be. That looks like it might be a good size. Huh? And if you come here now and you click outside of it, it turns to a hand. And you can drag it down there and place it in the corner. And click and you're good to go. All right. So that we have shown you quickly how to do it in photos, iPhoto. You can in fact quickly do that and lighten it a little bit, turn it around and crop it and save changes. And say done. Now what I like about this program is that if I wanted to export that, I can export that including all of the original data resulting from the camera, the exposure, the aperture, and everything. That's called EXIF data. So if I come over here now and I say File, Export, one photo, I can take a JPEG, anything, quality, the color profile is sRGB, which is internet standard. Full size, you can make them smaller, title, keywords, and captions, and this location information. If you have GPS information on the picture, you can use the file name or have a sequential file name, and we go on export. And it allows us to choose where we want to export it to. So let's export it into our photos folder on our SSD drive, Stephen 1, April 2021. And we just click export. And we're done. Okay. So what do we want to do now? Well, we want to go back to our pictures. Now we wanted to be able to lighten. Remember, the other thing that we did in the other program was lighten up our sunset. So how do we do that again? Well, we have Magic Wand that will fix everything. Let's see what Magic Wand does. Oh, it lightens it a little bit, but it don't do much. All right, so no, we want to do more professional edits than that. So we come here now and we come and click and open our panel options. And now we see what it's done here. It's adjusted the shadows, the brightness and contrast, and the black point slightly, and even the brilliance. But we want to make some more adjustments. Let's have a look and see what happens there when we do that. Well, that doesn't do exactly what we want. So we can't use that one, can we? But the highlights could come down a little bit maybe, but the shadows need to come up a bit more. So I think we pretty much, you can decide how much of the water and the people and the thing you want to see. But once we have done that, and of course, if we need to get the shadows any brighter, we can come down here on the brightness and raise that very, very slightly. And then we would have to carry down the highlights a little bit. We could do that there. Notice the highlights. See what the highlights are doing. So you get it basically pleasing to your desires. And then when you're happy with it, you can do that with color, black and white, retouch and everything too. And then you can say done. You have color filters you can do as well. So we say done. And then we can save that whenever we're ready in the same manner that we saved the other one. Now, Apple doesn't disrupt your picture like how the other one does in Windows. Basically, anytime you go edit, you can reset all adjustments and they'll all go back to how they were, and you can get back your picture as it was in the beginning. See, revert to original. You can even do it faster than that. Look, you got revert to original up here. So that's what I was actually looking for. Revert into original anytime you feel like. So Apple is a much more professional program than what you would get on Windows. And I'm hoping you're beginning to appreciate the advantages of what it means to be an owner of Apple products. I used to give Apple a bad time when I was much younger. Didn't want no part of Apple. And then I got an iPad and that changed my mind. Eventually I got a Mac, and soon I'll probably get an iPhone as well. Once you go Mac, you never go back. Okay, anyway, let's proceed now to get rid of the bottle in here like we did in the Windows program. So we click here on edit. What do we want to do? Well, how are we going to get rid of this? We don't have those tools in iPhoto because this is not actually a graphics editor. This is just a photo manipulation program. So what we do is we come down here where it says retouch, right? And we have size, right? Here is where we have size. We can adjust the size of our brush. If we click there, it says click and drag over spots to remove, or option click to choose the source area. So the first thing that we want to do is to make this bigger, just like how we did in the Windows software. We can quickly do that up here with the slider. There we go. And we click here on the brush again. And now what we want to do is see the circle, the size of my circle there. So I press the option with there, and I sort of select that part of it. And I come down here now and I begin to retouch my bottle. So this white thing is just a thing about basically showing us where we are things. So we sort of paint the whole area well. And when we let go of the brush, notice the bottle is getting a little more changing. It's gradually going to disappear. In fact, the more we work on it, the more it's likely to disappear, as you will see in a minute. So we come here and click again, and we go from this side. And it's beginning to go a little bit more. So we continue to work on our bottle, sampling around it. All right. I like that now. So if I go back, you know, there was a hole there before. Remember, the bottle was actually sitting in the hole. So all we've done is reveal the hole entirely in the rock that was there in the first place. And in the first picture, I covered up the hole entirely. But it doesn't really matter one way or the other, because the viewer doesn't know how it was. And the point is, in both cases, I've made the bottle completely disappear. So all in this case, I just drove the hole that was behind the bottle anyway. Amazing that it was able to do that. It was able to know that the hole was behind the bottle. And so I just click, you know, basically I just go back there, and basically I can now save, basically just save the two of these back onto my thing like what I did, and I'm done. Now, as I said, once you save it, what's the advantage of saving it? The advantage of saving it is that you can process more than one picture, or save more than one picture at a time. So I'll save the two of these. Basically, we export. We export that, but the original picture, we can always, the beauty of it really is that the original picture, we can always go back and do more editing on it, undo editing entirely and start editing again, and save another sample of another thing, and then compare them all. So we just go export, and we put it here in our section here. We say export. But now, from now on, I'll be able to seamlessly switch between demonstrating on the Apple and demonstrating on the Windows computer in future lectures. Thanks for watching, and see you next time for another more professional video than it was this time.